Welcome back to another episode of Defending Ideas. I'm Nic Dunn. Because this episode is coming out right before Thanksgiving, I wanted to talk with you directly just for a few minutes as we anticipate spending time with family and other loved ones this holiday season. This time of year can sometimes feel stressful for some folks, especially those thinking about how to navigate serious disagreements with other family members about politics, religion, or society. Last year, I spoke about how to navigate those conversations, offering 3 steps to follow. First, ask genuine questions to better understand one another. Second, offer sincere praise wherever you can. And third, identify common ground. Then, after completing those steps, you can dive into where you disagree. And if you do that, I promise it'll be much more constructive and respectful. But this year, what's been on my mind lately is this. How do I articulate what I believe to others who may have a different view? What can I say that remains true to the principles I hold dear while preserving and hopefully strengthening an important relationship with a family member? What I want to urge you to do is this. Refrain from the instinct to immediately reach for familiar partisan talking points that start with immediately attacking the other side or attacking a candidate or elected official you oppose. Instead, I want you to start with your deeply held positive principles and articulate them as if to say, this is what I believe and why I find it so meaningful in my life. These principles influence how I vote, how I live, and how I strive to treat others. What do you actually affirmatively believe in as a set of principles that have blessed your life, maybe influenced your politics, and that you believe if more people adopted those principles would have positive effects for them too? Look, in other words, to borrow from Arthur Brooks, use your principles as a gift that you offer to others, rather than a club that you wield to hit them over the head when they don't accept your views. The reason I think this is so essential these days, especially this year, is that we live in a time of extremely contentious public debate over politics and policies and principles. And there's no end to the contention we see online and in the news covering disputes over pieces of legislation or even which ideas belong or don't belong within the tent of the conservative movement, the progressive movement, and all manner of political philosophies that at times face debates about their identity. The solution, in my view, is not to shrink away from these kinds of debates, but rather to engage them in an appropriate, positive, and constructive way. Again, by offering what you sincerely believe for others to consider. Here's how I might try and do that. I am tremendously grateful to work for an institution, Sutherland Institute, that takes great care to articulate sound principles and to strive to consistently apply those principles in all facets of public engagement over important topics. I want to share some of these ideas in the hope that they'll resonate with you as well. Here's a little bit about what we believe from Sutherland Institute's Statement of Principles. Times of great conflict call for an urgent recommitment to the principles that preserve freedom, so that, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. America's current political landscape is indeed in a time of great conflict. To that end, Sutherland offers a guide for principled citizens urging a recommitment to and renewed application of time-tested principles for a new birth of freedom to flourish in our nation. We affirm the ideals enshrined in America's founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, as the bedrock of American governance, enterprise, and liberty. Political and policy debates are elevated when imbued with greater fidelity to the American constitutional order in law, policy, and culture. The core institutions of civil society, including families, communities of faith, and the free enterprise system, are indispensable to fostering a functional culture that equips citizens for the rigors of self-government. The erosion or politicization of our civic institutions is a threat to the American experiment and is best combated by restoring those institutions to their proper role. Utah Governor Spencer J. Cox said in his 2022 State of the State address that if America is the last great hope of the world, then Utah is the last great hope of America. We agree. Utah is the best equipped state in the nation to keep America's founding ideals and foundational institutions strong. We will maintain Utah's example and share successes with principled leaders throughout the nation. We believe public policy and political culture most effectively follow the aspirational ideals of the American founding when aligned with three guiding values of faith, family, and freedom. The freedom to worship and live one's faith has been a core principle from the founding, and America's legacy of religious freedom must be preserved. We promote the constitutional significance of this right, paired with the individual and societal good that comes from the strong presence of people, organizations, and communities of faith in our state and nation. We recognize the family as the most fundamental of civic institutions and the foundation of a free and prosperous society. The relationship between parents and their children is vital, with parents chiefly responsible for directing the care and education of children to lead flourishing lives. The role of stable, healthy family environments, including the impact of married two-parent households, is upstream of many policy and societal challenges. We prioritize reforms that help strengthen the family institution itself. We believe in upholding the constitutional limits on government power. We respect the inherent dignity of each citizen as fully deserving of the protections of individual liberty and equality before the law, regardless of immutable characteristics. The American dream rests on the belief that hard work and commitment can yield a better life. We affirm the vitality of American free enterprise as the greatest engine of prosperity in the history of humanity, coupled with efforts to push opportunity to Americans striving to escape poverty as central to that dream. We uphold the importance of the free exchange of ideas through open and respectful expression, and we defend representation achieved through free and fair elections. The reason I share all this is because so much of what we do on this show is intended to help equip you to make sound ideas broadly popular. And you and I can't do that if we aren't willing to engage in debates about principles, ideas, and policies. We will also fall short of that goal if the way we do it isn't well calibrated towards showing love to others even when we disagree on important topics. Being with family and other loved ones is the perfect time to practice this skill set. So if any contentious issues come up, be open to having the kinds of conversations we need to have as Americans engaged in self-government. In the way we need to have those conversations to turn the political temperature down and find consensus where possible. And that starts with striving to lovingly articulate your principles to others and help make these sound ideas broadly popular. Lastly, I'm also grateful to each of you who watch or listen to the show. So thank you for being part of the Defending Ideas audience, and happy Thanksgiving.